everyone, welcome to our channel. I'm T with T and Pups, and as you can see, this is Royal. Come here. Royal always loves to get love, so we make sure we give him love at all times. I wanted to create this video to highlight the ways in which we protect our dogs during the summer heat. If you're not aware, we do live in Texas, and it gets really hot in Texas. Like 3-digit temperatures are not a shock anymore. I feel like the temperatures are only getting higher on an annual basis. So it's a lot of precautions that you have to take when you have dogs to ensure that they don't, end up suffering from heat exhaustion or heat stroke. So let's get into it. Number one, water. We like to ensure that our dogs have access to water, whether they're inside the house or outside of the house. Inside the house, each one of them has their own individual water bowl or pail that we refill on a daily basis. Something that's helpful with that is that I actually purchased a I guess it's like a narrow mouthed watering can. And so like Apple has a pail in her crate, and so what I do is I take I fill the watering can up, and then I go ahead and like insert it through like the wires of the crate and fill her water bowl, as well as my dog Kai. And then Royal has a large water bowl that he has as well. Outside we have a super large water bowl that we fill and fill up on a regular basis, so they have access to that when they're outside. So that's the first way that we really protect our dogs during the summer heat. Number two, we limit their walks to about 10 to 15 minutes a day, and we ensure that those walks are taken either really early in the morning or really late at night. And this is because the temperatures are a little bit milder at those times. If you notice there, I think it's about 12 to 3 that the temperature is usually at its hottest. Right now, it's about, I think 91 degrees, but earlier it was about 87, 86. And then sometimes late at night, it'll cool off quite a bit, and even have some windiness. Last week, I believe we took them out at 9 p.m. and it was great. It was perfect. The temperature had dropped significantly, and there was a lot of windiness, and of course it's dark, and we walked them all still for about 10-15 minutes, simply because it was still like warm, but it wasn't as warm as it usually is during the heat of the day. And so that's another thing that we really like to do, because I like to make sure that they get some walks in, but at the same time, like walking them isn't worth the risk of them possibly getting sick. So we like to just make sure we limit their walks for very short stints during the day. Third, this goes along with limiting exposure outside. Whenever they have playtime, we do limit that time as well. Usually when the dogs go out, they're outside for about 7 to 10 minutes. Like each time they go outside, and this is just so they don't get super hot. There isn't a lot of shade in our yard. We don't have trees, anything like that. We do have the shade that sometimes we get from the house, and so usually if I see like a shaded spot, I'll go sit in that spot, and then the dogs will kind of follow suit and come hang out with me for a while, and then we eventually go in. I do not let them stay outside for a long period of time, because I don't want to risk them getting sick. Also, it's really uncomfortable for me, so I feel like if it's uncomfortable for me, I feel like it's going to be uncomfortable for the dogs. Okay. The fourth way that we like to ensure that our dogs stay safe during this time is that we like to let them play in water. Sometimes we water our we have like a container garden in the back that we're growing a bunch of stuff. So we will water that on a regular basis, and sometimes the dogs, aka Royal and Apple, who are basically fish in dogs' bodies, they will just be ecstatic to play in the water. I have videos on them like chasing after the water from the hose pipe and trying to like bite at the water coming straight out of the hose. And so whenever we water our plants, we don't mind like letting them play in the water, simply because it allows them to cool off as well. If you're not aware, dogs actually cool off differently from humans, and so we just like to give them as many opportunities as possible to stay cool and to cool down whenever it's needed. Lastly, I always check the temperature. So of course on my iPhone, I have the Weather Channel app. I pull that up faithfully like every day, or I'll ask Siri like, hey, what's the temperature? It's something I do for myself, you know, being aware of how hot it is as well as the UV index. So I'll know the temperature at that time, just because I don't want to take them out when it's too hot. Like if it's, you know, 100 degrees, they may go outside just to pee and poop and come back in, because 100 degrees is excessive. Humans, or like nobody, should be outside at that temperature, right? And so I always check the weather to get the temperature. But another thing that I like to do as well, if I feel like it could be, you know, okay, but then it still feels a little hot, is that I actually check the asphalt with my hand. It's something that I've always been in the habit of doing. So it's merely just going outside, taking my hand, and like on the path that we're going to walk on, or the area that we're going to walk on, I'll periodically take my hand and just like touch the ground and see if it's hot, like too hot for me to touch. If it's too hot for me to touch, it's too hot for them. And at that point, it's time to go inside, because you run the risk of them burning their paws or injuring their paws, and you never want that. I've seen some pictures and videos online of like injured paw pads, and it's disgusting, and I feel like it's excruciating. Like think about if you were to burn your hand on the stove. Like that hurts, and it doesn't stop hurting, and I don't want my dogs to have to deal with that, and so they shouldn't have to deal with that. So I always try to make sure, or always make sure that I touch the ground to make sure it's not too hot for their paws. So yeah, those are the main ways that we actually protect our dogs during the summer heat. I encourage you to do some of those things, as well as look into other strategies and other options that you have to really make sure your pup stays safe during the summer heat, especially if you live in a place like Texas. I appreciate you for watching. Thank you for taking the time. I encourage you, if you have a comment, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this episode.